Lords of the Fallen is a game that received a ton of hype when the trailers were released. It's been out for about 2 weeks now, and the game has mixed reviews from the community. There are quite a few complaints, but there are some people who are saying they have a positive experience. I'm here to give you my personal thoughts as I've played through the game for quite a few hours. There are some pros that I've seen, and there are some cons I'd like to talk about. At the end, I will give my personal recommendation if you should pick up this game or not. One of the first pros to me is the character design. The game does give you 9 different starting classes that all have a unique look and playstyle for those of you who want something different. The NPCs introduced throughout the game have all been well designed and interesting to look at. There are a ton of different enemies that you're going to be battling throughout the game as well, which have personally left me satisfied with enemy variation. Another pro I would like to talk about is the world. The world itself is massive. The design is insane. If you look around everywhere, there's so much going on, there's so many questions to be asked, and the game itself doesn't really give you the answer to these. You just kind of have to figure it out or wait to see later on if they do give you some answers. Now, another thing to point out is that if you go into the Umbra world, the entire map is different now. Yes, the walkways and the level design are going to be similar, but the actual assets and world design are different. The whole feel changes, and there's a ton of new things to look at. This next thing could be a pro or a con depending on how you like to play games and what you're interested in. So the thing I'm talking about is knowing where to go next. The level designs are usually pretty good to where you know I need to keep going forward or I need to go this way or that way. But in this game, there are so many twists, so many turns, so many rooms, so many different ways that you can go that will lead you to a completely different section of the map that sometimes can leave you feeling lost. There were many times in the game where I had no idea where I was supposed to go next, and it took a lot of exploring to figure that out. So depending on how you like to play a game, that may or may not be a pro or a con for you. Now, moving on to actual mechanics in the game, there are quite a few pros and cons. I'm just going to go over a couple that are pretty apparent to me that I deal with a lot. Starting off with the positive, I do like the weapon selection that they have and the fighting styles that they make available to you. There are some pretty cool combos that you're able to pull off. They do have a light attack, a heavy attack, and a special combo button that allows you to pull off these pretty cool combinations of moves that make fighting a lot more fun. Now, one of the biggest cons that I come across quite often, and I don't know why I keep doing this, but basically there are some moves and specific mechanics with the Umbra lamp in the Umbra world that only work if you are locked onto the subject. And when you're in the middle of the game, running from an enemy, fighting a horde of enemies, you kind of forget that you have to lock on to make this move work, and it ends up missing or not going off, and it kind of ruins the gameplay for me at least, because now I have to figure out how to beat these enemies or run away from these enemies and then go back and lock on to make sure that it works. Another mechanic in the game that may be a pro or a con depending on what you like and how you think about it is if you die in the Umbra world to specific enemies, I don't know if it's all enemies or specific enemies, they will keep your money. Usually in games when you die, like in Elden Ring, you can run back and the spot you died, your loot is there. However, in this game, there are some enemies that if they kill you in the Umbra world, they will hold on to your money. And now you have to go back, find that specific enemy, and kill them again if you want to see your money. Now, I haven't seen that before, and I think it's pretty interesting. However, if you die to a very strong enemy, then you may not get your money back. A major pro that I do want to talk about are the boss battles. Now, I'm not going to spoil all the boss battles for you. I will talk about one boss battle that you come across very early in the game, so if you want to skip this part you can. But the main reason that I enjoyed this boss battle so much was the extensive moveset and unpredictability of this boss. I mean, I was fighting her and I had no idea what she was going to do next. Yes, you can kind of tell what the next move will be with the charge up, but it was never the same sequence of moves, and the moveset just kept growing and growing and growing the longer that I fought. And to me that is super enjoyable, because if you fight a boss that only has 3 movesets or a couple moves that you can easily predict, it gets a little boring and easy to predict. But if you're fighting a boss that has an increasingly difficult set of moves, then you really have to think on your feet, and it really makes it such an enjoyable experience. Now, I'm about to talk about the biggest con that you're going to come across when looking at the reviews on Steam, which is the co-op experience. Now, the devs did promise a seamless co-op experience for this game, and in a way it is seamless. However, there are some choices that a lot of players did not agree with. I did play a lot of this game with my friend, so I have quite a bit of experience with those choices made by the devs, and I'll tell you that some of what is said in those reviews is true. Now, for the seamless co-op play, you could say that it is, because once my friend loads in, he's there with me until I either kick him out or he leaves or we log off. When we fight together, when we do a boss battle together, whenever that boss is done, he's still there with me. So it is fun to play with him, and the game makes it easy to do so. Now, the biggest con is actually for the players that are not hosting the game. If you are the player that joins your friend and is not hosting the game, you are going to have some limitations as to what you can do in the world. You're not going to be able to interact with NPCs. If there are items that are just laying on the floor that were not dropped by an enemy or a boss, you're not going to be able to pick them up. You're also not going to be able to go into the Umbral world without the host taking that action. There were also some reviews stating that the player who is not hosting the game would not receive as much gold when defeating enemies. Now, when I was playing with my friend, I did not confirm this, so I can't say if that's true or not. Now, overall, with all the pros, all the cons, playing both by myself and with my friend, I have thoroughly enjoyed this game. I'm sure there are people out there who have experienced bugs and glitches that have made them want to turn the game off, and I know that the devs have been releasing a lot of patches lately that have changed the way the game is played and have added different mechanics. This is kind of becoming a trend with a lot of big name games coming out, bugged and glitchy. I think gamers are coming to expect that there's going to be a lot of patchwork done within the first couple weeks, and with a game as massive as this, I guess I could see it coming. With all that being said, if you are a fan of this kind of game, don't mind upcoming patchwork, and have been wanting to play the game, I would say go for it. However, if you've been on the fence about getting it and don't mind waiting a little bit longer to see if a sale comes up, that would be a safe choice as well. Thank you so much for checking out this video. I will be making an updated impressions video once I do complete the game. If there is another game you'd like me to make another first impressions on, let me know in the comments below.